As of the recording of this video, the Marvel Netflix shows have been officialized as MCU canon, changing everything, although not really. But what does change everything is Marvel's new Spotlight banner and its first show, although not really. My name is Ren, and this is my review of Echo. Welcome back, film family. Thank you for joining me to discuss a brand new Marvel series in a story that sees Maya Lopez's journey bring her home while pursued by Wilson Fisk's criminal empire, where she must confront her family and legacy in her own pursuit of power and revenge. In the first Marvel series of 2024, the first under the Marvel Spotlight banner, which promises more intimate, grounded, and character driven stories that don't necessarily connect to the wider MCU, even though Echo inherently exists as a spin off of Hawkeye. And from its inception, between when it was announced and now with all 5 episodes available to watch on Disney Plus, Echo has seen a lot of turbulence, not in terms of actual production, at least that I'm aware of, but in terms of excitement and anticipation. The vast majority of the reaction to this character in Hawkeye was not the desire to see more of her or see a show driven by her. I know I was very much in that camp, at least until the first trailer came out and exposed a more daredevil, Netflix, gritty, grounded take on this character and on the MCU in general, which is why the Marvel Spotlight banner is so important and so key to separate it. What I will say, however, is that for better or worse, the MCU has experimented with its shows more than anything else. The tone, the style, the stories they approach, the structure, the shows have been what they experiment on with. And Echo is yet another brand new experimentation for them that feels more akin to the style that we loved from Daredevil. And it's a style that very much fits with this character and with the story they're telling. Even though, as soon as you begin this show, you'll probably think you're watching an Eternal show for some reason. And even though this opening with no context caught me off guard, I found myself invested in this richly layered piece of the narrative that ties back into Echo's search to connect with her roots as she attempts to run away from this past, from her entire life that defined her as Kingpin's henchman, as just another monster for him to use. And it's about Maya trying to run away from that and get in touch with herself. This is a redemption story in every way for Maya, and Alaqua Cox is fascinating to see. She plays everything with so much nuance. She has such a great screen presence, and the stunts are fantastic. The choreography, the fight sequences are exactly what they promised you. They are in the style of the Daredevil, the Punishers, the Jessica Jones, and you do have some cameos that people will enjoy. We saw a little bit in the trailer. There's more of it in the actual show, and it thoroughly impressed me, particularly when you start to realize, oh yeah, Alaqua Cox is actually deaf, she's actually an amputee, and she's doing it all. She is performing these stunts with such credibility and viscerality, a true badass in and out of our television screens. And Alaqua Cox understands that this character is an anti-hero. This is a violent show. This is a show about someone who is not a very good person attempting to find the light, to come out of the shadows as her past pursues her. And it's a character that is all alone because of all these choices in life. And these choices include double crossing Wilson Fisk. And Vincent D'Onofrio is an absolute treasure. I'm so happy he is in this show. I wish there was a whole lot more of him. This is a 5 episode show. Kingpin is present all through, particularly because the bulk of the first episode is a recap of Echo's story through her childhood, growing up, getting to know Kingpin, And we do splice in some literal scenes from Hawkeye that recap that show, which I think they do really well. But there is not much in the first episode. The second episode, then, it's all about the show finding its stride, putting all its pieces in place, and Kingpin only comes in the last stretches of this series. And easily because of him, episode 4 is my favorite. It's the episode that focuses the most on the relationship between Maya and Kingpin and really starts to illustrate the similarities, the differences, how Maya connects to her roots, how Maya connects to her powers, and these are very different powers than she has in the comics. In the comics, Echo is called Echo because she can imitate everyone else's fighting style. The MCU already has a character like that, even though we don't know if we'll ever see this character back. So now Echo's powers in the MCU are all about connecting to her roots without getting too much into spoilers, but they're very vaguely defined. I can't really tell you what her powers are. I know how she channels her powers, I know how she taps in to her powers, but I don't actually understand what her powers do. It's not something that is fascinating. Oh, she went on this journey to discover her powers and these are her power and the powers aren't, they are just not impressive. So everything this show does in terms of this character work, in terms of setting up its unique tone and grittiness, it's all there. That said, Echo, unfortunately, reveals itself to be a show that, for as much innovation as it offers in certain aspects, it also presents many of the familiar issues and troubles we generally have with these shows. It's like presenting a meal that you'll like, but it's presented with this brand new spice added to it. So the flavor, the aftertaste, there's a different kick to it all that you enjoy. But the complaint that so many fans have that all these shows could be movies instead, which I don't necessarily agree with, but it has never been truer than with Echo. This is a 5-episode series in which the first half an hour of the first episode is dedicated to a recap. It's generally 30 minutes long, give or take. This is easily a 2 hour and 10 minutes Marvel movie you could watch in the cinema. It is also riddled with pacing issues. The first episode is so slow until we get past the Hawkeye recap. The final episode is so rushed, and everything in the middle is interesting for Maya as a character. You're presented to interesting characters, you're presented to an interesting culture, you're developing through that culture, through the centuries, see how much it reflects Maya's own journey as she is attempting to connect back not only with her legacy, but with the family that has been distraught ever since she left with her father. It doesn't dive deeper into any of these. Nothing about it adds to the pressure, adds to the tension. You already know from the beginning there's this tension and this eventual confrontation between Maya and Kingpin that's going to happen. There's nothing interesting about how we get from point A to point B. Not to say their relationship isn't interesting. Whether it is flashbacks and we see Maya becoming just like Wilson Fisk under his ruthless, merciless tutelage, and all the present sequences between both paying all that off. But there's so many other relationships that the show tries to develop between Maya and her grandmother, Maya and her cousin, and Maya trying to connect back with the person she once was, with her mother's ancestry, the grandmother who abandoned her. And the show just doesn't have time to explore all those dynamics, all those story threads to deeper, more compelling levels. All these issues tie back to the plotting about Kingpin not being in this show enough. Because if he was in the show from the beginning, you could have reflected her dynamic with Kingpin back as it developed between her and her grandmother. A big issue about that is that Maya is hiding away from her grandmother and her cousin. And because of that, you leave everything for the final 2 episodes. The plotting and pacing really bring this show down. Apart from a mid-credit scene or a post-credit scene, I guess, at the end of the show, that I really enjoy. It's very obvious, it's very in your face, the dialogue feels very one draft, and what is ultimately the most frustrating part of Echo is that it's a show that, while so character driven, so character focused, with such a compelling dynamic at its core, does so little for this character. By the end, I felt the exact same way I felt at the end of Hawkeye. You feel that it does so much more for Kingpin as a character than it does for Maya Lopez. And that is so frustrating because this show does so much for this character, but by the end, the bigger impact, the bigger change, the bigger arc all goes for Kingpin. I'll tell you what though, this was the Marvel show I was least excited for, and damn, it's still a good one, and I'm going to rank it much higher than I ever did the Marvel show I was most excited for, Secret Invasion. Those are my general thoughts on Echo. But hey, this isn't just about me. It's time for you to start the conversation about it in the comments below. How does it rank with all the other MCU Disney Plus shows, for which I have reviews for all of them right up here on this playlist? And if you're enjoying this review, you want to talk more MCU, more movies and TV with me, this is the place to be. Consider clicking that subscribe button and you won't miss any future conversations on your favorite movies and TV. While I love the individual style and bleak tone of Echo as a gritty character-driven journey searching for inner peace, legacy, and connection, this part mythology tale, part redemption story is ultimately a series plagued by inconsistent pacing and underbaked plotting issues. Cox and D'Onofrio are stellar, and Kingpin is the absolute cherry on top. This show deserved more of him. I'm giving Echo a B minus. Thank you for watching, Film Family. Don't forget, start the conversation about Echo in the comments below. Share your most anticipated superhero movie or TV show of the year, and big shout out to my channel members for always supporting the channel. I'll be back very soon with more videos, so until the next one, love each other and love the movies.